All right, welcome back to another episode of ISM Radio. I'm your host, Gaige. I am here at our first executive networking event at Oheka Castle, and I have the pleasure of sitting here tonight with Ralph Mandarino from the Necromantic Brew .com. Is that it?
Necromantic Brew Co.
Brew Co.
Yep.
Okay, so
got
that's
it.
where you guys go to check him out because this is going to be a fun one. You better get your seatbelts on for this one. This one's going to go up and down and all around because, man, does he have a seriously fun facility for you guys to check out. And I checked it out, and the pictures and stuff were absolutely amazing. You know, it's like really cool what you're doing.
I'm glad you like it.
And well, I like it because it has that originality to it, that a lot of hard work went into this because doing what you do takes a lot of planning and a lot of work.
There was thought involved, I promise.
So you started this back in 2018. Tell people how this started and what you do, because this is a brewery
right
that makes a very specific type of brew. There's a serious beer here. This is not
That's
your
right.
average beer.
So back in 2018, I had been halfway through, let's say, my gluten-free journey. I lived 30 years of my life. I had no idea that I had celiac. So one day I just woke up and I could no longer digest food, food that I knew of. So, bagels, pasta, pizza, hot dogs, all the wonderful things that make us
Right.
New Yorkers. So luckily through a friend, I was able to figure out that it was celiac that I wound up having. So a buddy of mine had come over to my house. As I said, I was now, maybe 5 years into this journey of being gluten-free, and he came over, and I made him dinner, and it was indiscernible to him. It was either clam sauce or scampi or something like that. I had made a really good gluten-free meal, and with that, he just, he said, "Hey, man, I can't tell the difference between this and a regular gluten-free meal, so why don't we make some beer?" Just like that.
And that's how it started at home.
And that's how it started. It kind of snowballed from there. And, being in Farmingdale, I grew up in Farmingdale. I went to Northside down the block, and it was really fun to be able to come home and put something that was special to me and special to a lot of people that have, gluten intolerance or celiac. And unbeknownst to me, I realized that we were serving a couple of underserved communities, and that gets back to the horror theme of the place.
Yeah, which is incredible. The theme is really cool, and we'll get into the theme in a little bit, but the naturally gluten-free, the ancient grains that you use, describe that process.
Sure. So traditional beer and alcohol, like whiskeys and scotch, rye, bourbon has rye. Regular wheat and rye and is wheat, rye, and barley are like the bad things for me to have that I just can't digest them. So we use buckwheat, no relation, and we use millet, roasted rice, flake quinoa, and blue organic corn. And I use a combination of those grains to make the styles that everybody is accustomed to. So we do same types of, hazy IPAs, regular IPAs, West Coast IPAs. We do Belgians. We have Saisons, pale ales, blonde ales. We have an apple pie flavored blonde. Right now I'm working on a creamsicle blonde.
Okay.
For the summer.
So you guys get creative in there. Now you do this all within the same facility that you serve it in correctly.
Yes.
So
everything is done in the facility. We've got 2,700 square feet to 1,700 square foot tap room, and 1,000 in the back for the brew room. We got 18-foot ceilings, so I have no problem accessing my tanks and everything like that.
Right. So now let's get into some of the events that you have there, because when I saw them online, I mean, there's an event every week, right? Isn't there?
Just about every day we have something going on. So right now, today being Tuesday, Tuesdays we do double features for movies. So I have an umbrella license to play films. So every month generally has a theme to it. So This is Animation April. So for Animation April, tonight we're playing the Haunted World of El Superbeasto from Rob Zombie, and a German film. Help me, I could never pronounce it correctly, but it's a pretty funny film with cats.
And then the theme this weekend, you guys are going to go into the halfway to Halloween.
That's right, being the end of April now, so this would be the weekend for the end of April. So we're going to have a halfway to Halloween party, which is basically a full-blown Halloween party in April.
Okay, so that's this weekend, the 26th, that's going down.
That's right.
And that's in Farmingdale.
Yep. I even brewed a fresh batch of pumpkin beer, which is
For the event.
For the event, which is insane.
I mean, that's a creative. That's what I'm saying. People
Yeah.
don't realize the work that went into the planning of all this, because that's how. Now, give me an idea of what it takes. So, like, you have the event this weekend.
Yep.
When you thought of this event and you said, okay, we're going to serve pumpkin, how long did it take you to actually create from scratch pumpkin brew?
Sure. So basically, I actually have 4 recipes, 4 different types of pumpkin beers. But again, everything is always determined on time. So,
Right.
you know, on a general brew, I would say it would take anywhere between a week and a half to 2 weeks. You know, unless I want to get a lager or something like that, that takes, you know, maybe.
So
I would
some
say
do
30
take a
days.
little longer than others.
Yeah, depending upon the style. Sometimes it's got to sit a month and stuff like that. You really want everything to, I mean, generally, honestly, everything should sit, because when things sit and settle, everything tastes better.
Okay.
You know, but sometimes when you're in a pinch or a crunch, you know, supply chains are still a thing here. I'm kind
Right.
of surprised that I have problems with that still, but it's true. So I was waiting for enzymes, which is, again, one of the unfortunateness of having gluten-free beer.
Yeah.
The enzymes are not built
Naturally.
into the grains. Right, naturally.
Naturally gluten-free.
My enzymes in the starches, so I want to turn starch to sugar. I can't do it without this enzyme. It's a regular enzyme. It's a glucoamylase, but see, wheat has that built in. Rye has that built in. Barley has that built in. So for a regular brewery, you hit it at a certain temperature, and it just secretes, and you get your starch inevitably into sugar, and then the yeast eats the sugar, and you got alcohol. So for us, we just have the extra step of adding that chemical, which is the amylase.
Did you guys write that recipe down? Because he just gave away the secrets. Now, you can't get that enzyme in like Stop and Shop, right?
Can't do it.
It's not happening.
That's
You can't run out and grab a bag and just fill up. And
That's it. Got to get it from the lab.
now, are there different strengths to the beer, like
There are.
alcohol? Because-
Absolutely. So we run a gamut here. So we have things that are, 4%, 4.5%. But, my customers, they like to drink. So
Okay.
generally mine are on the higher side.
They're
for
strong.
Sure.
They're stronger.
Yeah, 7.5%, 8.5%, 9.5%, 10%.
What's the highest? Is
12.5 I've done. At home, I've done 14.5, which is basically right under the limit for legality purposes.
Oh, okay.
If-
So
once
it's
you
like moonshine.
once you hit 15, you're wine. That's a
okay.
whole different license.
Okay, so right, that's a different licensing than,
Yeah.
than the brewery. And so we touched on some of the events, but there's so many more. When I saw the calendar of events,
So yeah,
I couldn't even write them all down to rattle them off for you here tonight on the podcast. I couldn't do it. There were so many.
There are. I'll do my best. So for the month to month, we do a paint and sip, which is a traditional. We have actually my wife is an artist, and she comes and she instructs step by step. We supply the the canvases, the paints, everything that you need, and the beer. So it's a paint and sip.
Right.
You get a ticket on Eventbrite for that. And then we do once a month. I have a psychic who is incredibly good, but of course it's for entertainment purposes only. But she is very, very good at what she does, and so that's a ticketed event. We do these on Wednesdays generally, and then of course the really big event that people love is Drag Queen Bingo. Drag Queen Bingo we sell out almost every month.
Yeah, that was one of the pictures that I saw.
That's a big one,
Yeah.
and they are really good at.
Why are they always so tall? How come they're always so tall? Is it the heels that we're just not in heels?
It's
they're
the heels.
They're always 6'5" and they're
6'5" and well put together. They're all right. They're good.
It's so true. It really is. That's unbelievable. Now, you started in 2018. You took a little break with COVID, and then you got back into it just 3 years ago now. So this is fairly new to you.
It is. So in 2018, we were coming up with recipes. We were shopping properties. We wound up settling. I shouldn't say settling. We were trying to get into Main Street in Farmingdale, but it's slim pickings unless most things are taken,
Right.
or leased rather. So we were fortunate to be able to make a deal with the property owner at the time, and of course it was so fortuitous that we signed that lease on March 20th. And then it was only a few days later that everything got shut down, and then you were saddled with infinite delays. But that actually worked out to our benefit to a degree, so not financially so much, but we were able to really fine-tune recipes and almost retool recipes because what we were doing at home was nowhere near what we're doing now. I mean, I was really into what they call extract brewing, which is syrups and honeys and stuff like that. And the flavor profiles were great, but it's really the grain that gives you what makes a beer a beer.
Okay.
Know? So like if you were to say, like, you swirl the beer, you see the lacing on the glass, or you got that nice amount of head that just sits on that thing, that doesn't dissipate so quickly. And then, of course, the mouth feels nice and rounded when it should be. My darker stuff, of course, a lot of people like the Guinness style, those dark ones, browns and porters and stouts, and it's got to be thick and syrupy, but because there's no gluten, it doesn't sit heavy.
Right.
So it doesn't expand your stomach, so you don't feel that bloatingness so much. So it's pretty cool.
That's the ancient grains.
That's the ancient grains.
So you need to know about the ancient grains, and there's only one way to find out about it, and that's everybody head over to Farmingdale. But you've also, because it's kind of like a science project, and you get into the brewery and all this, the recipes that you're telling us and stuff, did you have any batches that came out that may have been, and now you make some amazing ones, I've heard about the great ones. Have you had any that you come out and it's like, uh-oh?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And you know what the funny thing is? It's probably happened more times than I would want to admit, but I've been fortunate in when I make a recipe and I have a plan, I'm really the only one that knows that. So by the time it comes out, if something is not the way that I wanted it to, I could, quote, fix it or change it or, use it in some other capacity. And therefore, by the time I present it to you, whomever comes, no, this was, this is the plan the whole time. So I've been fortunate that truthfully, maybe we've had 3 bad batches. And the irony to that is it's probably been, over the last, I would say 6 to 8 months.
Okay. So it was recent. It was only because you're spanning out and trying new things, and that's when things are going to go wrong.
Yeah, like one very specifically, I was last summer, let's say, or maybe it was a little after the summer, but I wanted to do like a hard tea. So I wanted to make like a southern tea, a peach sweet tea, but with alcohol. And, I just didn't approach it correctly, so it never really got off the ground. I mean, the tea version of it without the alcohol was delicious, but I just couldn't, I didn't get it to ferment properly, so it was non-alcoholic at that point. It was just sweet tea.
Gotcha. Now, you said that you're really the only one that knows. So are you the scientist? Are you the guy behind the entire brewing operation that you're putting all these different extracts and grains and the things that you do put together? You're the one that makes the recipe? Yeah,
right now it's currently, it's a one-man show, really. I have a couple of people that help me out from time to time, but for the most part, it's a lot of hours, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah, you're definitely putting in the work now. Is this something that could grow to be canned and sold and wholesaled?
Yes. So we have a canning machine on premises, which we use. We get our cans locally from Deer Park. And we basically, for every batch of beer, and for me, a batch of beer is roughly 6.5 half kegs. So I take 5.5 of those kegs and put them in the basement for everybody to come and enjoy for the tap room. And that 1 half keg I can. So that's roughly 140 cans. And then we have a refrigerator like 7-Eleven in the front.
Okay.
And you just pop on, and some people just come and pick up to go.
So people could just come in and grab a couple of cans and put them in their house for a party.
And the fun thing is I consistently rotate the menu.
Gotcha. So it's never the same stuff. When you're coming in, it's always going to be different because you're making all these different flavors. Like now you have a pumpkin one for this weekend.
Exactly.
So if they can come in, there's a half a keg available for pumpkin. You can grab that now if if that's what you.
Exactly that. And then we have the same thing that most breweries have, like a crowler machine, if you've ever seen that. So it's a 32-ounce can that you can make on demand. So if for whatever reason the cans, the 16-ounce cans are sold out and somebody tastes something they like, I'll just take it right off the tap.
So you could take it out of the keg, right out of the tap.
Yep.
That's in the brewery, in the tap room.
Correct.
Put it in a can and make it to go right then and there.
Shine it up,
How cool is
seal
that?
it up, and send you home.
That's really cool. I want to see that process.
Look forward to showing you.
And I'm sure you guys want to see the process too, so maybe that'll be the next step as we grow. with Ralph here and with the business. We'll go check it out and show you guys some really cool videos. But he is, you guys check out the Instagram page, because you click on website and it takes you right to the Instagram page.
I had to do it because there's so much action going on there. I want to show everybody the community that we're building and fostering and the great people that we have coming in.
Do you go live at any times on like TikTok or any of that stuff? Because you have these type of events that you absolutely could show live on.
Yeah,
on social media.
We love to do it because this, it shows you stuff. We're not stagnant. We have people coming in.
Well, there's a lot of work. You put a lot of work into this, not only being the scientist behind the recipes and the ancient grains with the naturally gluten-free brew.
That's right.
That's a tongue twister all on its own, but planning these events and theming the events to the brewery and to the beer in the tap room is got to be,
it is a challenge.
It's a lot more than 40 hours a week, and I can tell you.
It is. But you know what? It's rewarding because, like I said, people come in there, and for me, for all intents and purposes, when we designed the brewery, it was supposed to be, like my buddy and I, we were hanging out in my house. So it's supposed to be an extension of my house.
Right.
So you come in there and you think, back to when you were younger, you go to your cousin's basement or your best friend's basement or whatever it is. You go in, you're hanging out.
What it was like.
Having a couple of drinks. You're looking at the stuff on the wall. You're like, wow, I remember that when. And that's it. And then you have a conversation, and that's the beauty of it. A lot of places these days, you go to have a conversation, at a bar or something like that. People think you get the wrong idea. Here, everybody just wants to chit-chat. Doesn't matter if it's about the movie or the event or whatever it is. People they want that connection.
Well, it's pretty appropriate that you said that going to your brewery is like sitting in your home, because right now we're at Oheka Castle.
That's right.
We're at the first ISM Executive Networking event, and you're sitting in Gary's home. It's like you're here in a guy's home,
Beautiful.
And it's like it doesn't get any more realistic than that, and keeping it pretty,
It's on theme.
It's right on theme, right on point. Well, guys, I can't believe. I knew this was going to be a fun episode for sure, because Ralph brings so much to the table. You're very passionate about what you do. And
Thank you.
We get that. We feel, even in the tie tonight, he's totally even themed up when he came here. And Dean said to me, look at his tie, you'll know exactly who he was. And I knew right away who it was. And we're really excited that you came here and joined us tonight. This is pretty cool. Let people know where they can go to check out your website and the Instagram page. Give them your handle.
Sure. So if you go on Instagram, it's at Necromantic Brew Co. If you're on Facebook, it's Necromantic Brew. If you're going to the website, you can go there too for some general quick info. That's www.necromanticbrewco.com. That's necromanticbrewco.com.
There you go, guys. No reason not to go check it out. It's absolutely awesome. He's got a halfway to Halloween party going down this Saturday. And if it's blowing out there and I'm not on the boat, guess what? I might just put a pirate costume on and surprise you.
That's it.
All right.
Could win first place.
It looks like that's right. There's going to be a costume contest this weekend, guys. So check it out on social media. If you're looking to do something different, Ralph definitely has something different for all of us to do. So go check it out. And I think that's going to wrap up our episode here. I think what better way than to sign off with Gaige and Ralph. We'll see you guys soon.
So much.
Thanks for tuning in.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to ISM Radio. Join us for our invitation-only executive networking event at the legendary Oheka Castle. For more information, visit ideastreammarketing.com.